we are really, just let somebody in, we're really pleased to host this coffee morning because I think it's a very important subject that we're covering, and any support that we can give to people in this pandemic, this moment in time, is so crucial, because we have a lot of people who are kind of isolated and economically, financially in their homes, they're, you know, suffering. So any sort of information that can help them to stay safe in their home, safe in the environment, be able to be economically stable is going to be really beneficial. So this morning we have got the following agencies who have come to talk about their offer, which is really vital in this current situation. So to start off with, we have got Debbie Summerskill and Rose from the Healthy Homes Scheme Care Network. And then we have got Dilwara Ali from the Healthy Living Project in Blackburn. And then we will have Carol Quinn coming on from United Utilities to talk about energy and how you can save on energy. And then it will be Luke Watson, who is from Best Energy. And that will be another offer that people can access, especially those that might be in the working group, may not necessarily fall in the vulnerable group, but the working group, and they can access that kind of offer. So we've got Nicola Hanschel from NatWest Bank, who is going to talk to us about some issues around scamming and other sort of things that can protect you in the financial world. So I hope I've covered everybody. I've not missed anybody out, have I, that's here and speaking. So everybody will speak for roughly 10 minutes or so. I don't know if you go a little over, and then we can take questions after your slot, if that's okay with everybody, and then we'll move on to the next organisation. So if we can just start off with Care Network and the Healthy Home Project. Said that right. So Debbie and Rose.
Yeah, so if I share my screen, is that going to work? Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I can't see anybody, so it's really weird because I just feel like I'm talking to myself. So just keep coughing and sniffing and letting me know that you're still there. Okay, so some of you will be familiar with Care Network and others perhaps not so much. But we deliver a wide range of services, and we support and help people look at options to support their own health and well-being, and keeping them safe and warm at home. But as Coulson said, I'm just going to focus on the Healthy Home Service, which does have two halves to it. It has a home safety aspect to it, but again, just for the purpose of today, I'm just going to talk about the energy efficiency side of it. So much of our physical and mental health revolves around our home environment and where we live. And at the minute, we're spending an awful lot of time in our homes. So it's really important that there is a healthy a place as they can possibly be. And Public Health actually fund this service for us because they recognise the massive link between people's living conditions and health. So eligibility for our service, we've got a very wide eligibility. We've widened it up during, at the start of COVID, and it virtually covers anybody in the borough. In particular, I've listed a few there, but if anybody's interested in our services, we'll certainly do our best to help. Now, at the minute, like most services, we can't do home visits. We are bound to other forms of communication, and it can be a bit tricky, especially with energy efficiency, not being in somebody's home, having that conversation, but we're working around it. We're doing the best we can. We're using text, social media, and we've even done some Zoom in meetings with people. So the energy advice we give First of all, we ask people whether they've got their homes insulated, because keeping the warmth that they've paid for in and not letting it escape is a key thing. So if people aren't sure, or if they haven't got insulation, then we work closely with Cosy Homes in Lancashire and the Blackburn Council's energy officer, and they will help advise and look for different sources of funding to help to either top up or put some insulation in. We also look at simple things. There are lots of simple things that we can do to save money around energy. And Rose and Catherine, who is our other Healthy Homes officer, they've got their own information, so, and they're more than happy to share those tips with people as they're relevant. We find that lots of people struggle with the controls for central heating. So again, we help them to learn how to set the timers, how to use the thermostats. And if they're using the heating more efficiently, then that in itself will help them to save money. And if they're looking to replace appliances, we can help them check out the energy ratings to make sure they're getting the best most efficient ones that they can have. And finally, tariff and fuel switching, which is a biggie. So, to switch or not to switch? That is the question. Some people are very reluctant to switch suppliers because they've been with the one they're with for a long time. They're very loyal. They perhaps haven't heard much about the smaller or newer suppliers that have come along. So a way to support them would be to look with their existing supplier whether there's a better tariff that they can be on, and lots and lots and lots. So that's where Rose comes in. She will help them look at the current tariff, look at the circumstances, and liaise with the supplier to see if there is a better tariff that we can get somebody moved over onto. And for that, that gives them peace of mind of knowing they're with a supplier they know and trust, but they're hopefully saving some money on their fuel. So then on to people who are happy to switch. There are lots of people who will consider doing that, and a lot of people who, as again Coulson mentioned earlier, are able to do it for themselves, perhaps a younger end of the community. But even for the most IT savvy of us, it can be a bit daunting. So again, that's where Rose can come in. We want people to consider some questions as well. Some of the issues that may not be obvious, they will be on the sites that people look at, but just things to think about are, if they already have a smart meter, by switching to a different supplier, would that mean that they can keep the smart meter, or would they have to have one if they don't want one? Then, you know, we can clarify that with them. Will they carry on getting paper bills, or will it just be online? Because I know a lot of people, especially older people, feel much more comfortable getting a piece of paper through the post rather than having to go online. And will they need to submit the monthly meter readings? Are they going to be scrambling under the stairs every month to try and get to the meter to send in the readings? So these are all things to consider, and especially the winter warm payment, because sometimes by switching you can lose your eligibility for that. And taking £140 out of whatever saving you're making is quite a big chunk. So, say Rose will help with all that. We do currently have, I've gone back there. We do currently have a project running that's specifically to support people who have a learning disability, autism or dementia, or any of their carers. And that's a little bit more of a hand-holding process. So we will help them through the tariff check, the fuel switch, any other issues that they're having with the fuel or their energy. And we'll continue to support them for 12 months or longer if they need us. So there's lots of projects being delivered at the moment around energy and fuel, and that's great, because being at home needs more heating, more lighting, more cooking, higher bills, and obviously that's causing problems for people. So Care Network ourselves, we've actually got a couple of pots of money available that we can help support people with the fuel bills. The eligibility is the same for both of them, and it's for people who have a prepayment meter who have been affected in some way by COVID and at risk of self-disconnection. In other words, not using enough fuel to keep themselves warm. So there's two levels of payment there for a single person and for a family. And we do look at how they've been affected by COVID. it's not something that we could offer them if they are massively in debt, because there's other avenues that will better support them with that. And if it's just a budgeting issue, an ongoing budgeting issue, then again, this isn't the solution, but we will certainly point them in the right direction for what they need there. For these vouchers, we pay them by code, so we text out the code or we email the code to the customer, and they just go along to the post office and take that along, and they'll redeem it that way onto either their electricity meter or their gas meter. So we also have help with heating. Again, the Health at Home pot of money has an aspect to it that can look at repairs. So it helps with the cost of repairing or servicing heating appliances or boilers, but it also helps with the cost of home repairs, where the disrepair is impacting on how warm home is or if it's causing problems. We've just done one where somebody's flat roof was badly leaking, causing really bad damp, and it was interfering with the electrics. So, you know, we were able to help them towards the cost of that. So there is that pot there. Again, there's eligibility around this, around low income. So this is for anybody really who's on a means tested benefit. So for the last couple of years now, we've also had funding from the Gas Safety Fund charity, and they give us money to help support people having their appliances serviced, basically making sure that they're safe. And if there is any issues around repair, then again we can look to help fund that for them. That's the one that Care Network do for themselves. Now, you're probably all aware that the Blackburn We Don't Help Hub was set up last year in response to the pandemic. They've had some money at the council at the end of last year that is to support people through COVID, particularly during the winter months. And they called it the COVID Winter Grant Scheme. So with everything else, like everything else, there's eligibility. And the eligibility is a little bit of a minefield. It's mainly aimed around vulnerable families, people with children at home, and they're looking to spend about 80% of the funding in those areas. But there is the remainder there for individuals who are struggling. And at the minute, the feedback from the hub is that they're getting more older individuals rather than families looking for that support. So if you can promote it to people through your organisations or through family and friends, you know, if you do know any families that are struggling, then please do make sure they get in touch with the Help Hub.
This is all help for you. I'm all right with eating.
Sorry, so the COVID Winter Grant Scheme looks at 3 different areas. It looks at helping people to access food, and they're working in partnership with the Food Bank in Darwin and Blackburn for that. It's supporting with utility bills for the gas, electricity and water. So for that, there's ourselves, Healthy Living, Jubilee Tower Credit Union and United Utilities. And then there's support with other things like white goods, warm clothes, toiletries, etc. And we're involved with that, again, with boiler servicing and repairs. We split through the Help Hub. Anybody who calls a Help Hub will be directed to either us, Healthy Living or Jubilee Tower Credit Union, depending on the neighbourhood they live in. So we're getting the north and west ones. The Warras team are getting the east, and Jubilee Tower Credit are getting the ones for Darwin and rural. And this is people for not just prepayment meters, but if they pay their bills by direct debit, which is a bit different to ours. There's also support with water, and I know Carol's here from United Utilities, so she's going to tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes. So the amount of support that can be provided ranges from £30 up to £70, depending on the number and makeup of the household, and it is just one payment per household, just to help lift the bounce of the issue, you know, the problem that they're having, and hopefully help them get back on their feet. All the payments are paid by the Tower Credit Union, but the other organisations, we're processing them. If it's a direct debit payment, it will go straight into the bank account of the resident on the day that the direct debit is due. Okay, so boilers and heating. Again, the COVID Winter Grant Scheme is looking to help people who need to keep warm because they're having problems because the heating's not working, it needs repairing or replacing. And again, there's a pot of money there. So Care Network, we are actually delivering that one on behalf of the council ourselves. And we are using our safe traders to do that. So our gas safe traders that we've quality assured are the businesses that are helping us with that. Catherine, our other Healthy Homes officer, she's looking after all the boiler schemes. So if you're a little bit confused or you're not sure whether you or anybody you know would be eligible for any, just give her a call and she'll be able to help work out which is the best project, best form of support for you. So, in summary, I know that's a lot of information I've thrown at you, but basically, if anybody's struggling due to COVID, with either accessing food, paying the bills, or getting essential items, then the Blackburn Wiglow and Help Hub is the first port of call, really. If you give them a call, they've got frontline staff there that are trained and they will help people assess which, if any, of the support are available for. Sorry, are available for people, should I say. And then finally, if you're not sure if it's COVID related, it is related to energy or home safety, then give us a call and speak to either Rose or Catherine, because again, we can help support. If need be, we can redirect people to the council schemes, or we can help them through the projects that we've got running. I've concentrated this morning on the energy side of it, but of those of you who are not familiar with Care Network, please do visit our website because we have lots of other ways that we support people. We have a Safe Trader scheme, which again you may already know about. We have Care Network Hub, which is closed at the moment, but we're still giving telephone information and hosting service. And there's lots of really good case studies on there which just demonstrate on a day-to-day basis how we actually impact on people's lives. So if you get a chance, please do have a look at our website or give us a call. We'd love to have a chat to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it is really, I mean, we're using so many resources in our home at the moment. So it's trying to get them used at a good capacity and getting the help when, you know, we're using so much, having your home safe and comfortable, really, for everybody. Thank you for that. Are there any questions? Are there any questions from anybody? And if there are, just pop them in the chat box and we can answer them. If we have time at the end, if I don't know if Rose can just do a little case study, that would be really useful just to help people understand, you know, the process. Just a 2-minute one. So we'll go back to that. Put you on the spotlight. So next we have got Dilwara Ali from the Healthy Living Project. If I can invite Dilwara just to come on board and give a little
I am. Thank you very
breakdown of
much.
what you do.
Yes, thank you very much. Hi, I'm Dilwara from Healthy Living. Debbie has kindly done most of my work for me, so thank you, Debbie. Saves me so much time and hassle. So I won't go. I won't go into the CWG support. That basically is COVID winter grant support. It's very similar. It's getting funded by central government, and we get referrals from the Blackburn Hub for the East District of Blackburn. So it's similar if you think that you are obviously affected by COVID, whether you've been furloughed, and it's affected whether you've lost a job due to COVID. So that support mechanism, and again, Carol will loosely discuss that element of the government initiative that's happening at the moment. But also, I'm just going to talk a bit about the fuel poverty element of what's going on, the work that we do. Debbie loosely talked about tariff checks and things, but as Healthy Living, we take a bit more in-depth work in terms of looking at fuel debt. So we look at people who may have fallen into debt with their gas and electricity company, and we negotiate payments. We look at how we could take that debt off from people if need be, to see reasons where, and if we can see that whether there are grants out there available to help them pay back some of that debt that they may have accumulated. It can't be because that you've just neglected it. There's got to be very good reasons. We need documentation, and it's a bit of a long process, but there are elements there that support is definitely out there for people that need it. We look at people who may have not used their gas and electricity for a change, and making people understand that there's also standing charges that affect people. So those are the people that have got prepayment meters. Every week we all have standing charge that, but if we pay quarterly or we pay direct debit, we don't always see that element, and making sure people who are on prepayment meters, the element of standing charge does build up even if you don't use your meter. And that's something that we talk to people about, and making sure that they are aware. We do emergency top-ups as well, so anybody, and we've had several applications that have come through recently that they've got a couple of pence, or the benefit has been delayed because they've just applied for universal credit and the payment hasn't come through, so they haven't got enough money to top up their gas or the electricity. Because we've been quite fortunate, Healthy Living at the moment, we've got the COVID winter grant scheme that's happening. We also have got funding from elsewhere. So anybody that does not fall under the COVID winter grant scheme from national government, we are able to tap into other funding streams that Healthy Living have got currently. So we are in a good position not to say no to somebody. We will assess each and every individual and make sure that support is there. It is a crucial time, and it doesn't have to be because you're not working. There's lots of people, as Kulsum said earlier, we're all at home, we're all having to put our heating on because we're working from home. So a lot of people, bills are higher than expected, what they would have expected during this time. So it's really important that that support mechanism is there, and people aren't embarrassed to reach out for advice and for support. It's brilliant that there are like ourselves and Care Network out there, and Carol will say for water support as well, the United Utilities, because a lot of the time many people tend to get that support for gas and electricity, but it's quite nice to know that United Utilities are part of these biggest schemes at the moment that are giving residents that support. Also wanted to make sure that we are working with agencies to support anyone who may be struggling with food as well. So it all comes hand in hand. So if you can't eat, you're not going to be able to heat, the ever so popular phrase, eat or heat. And so lots of people that are having to choose that. With the children not being at school, there's elements of having extra food that we must have in the house to make sure those children that may have had meals at school, that they're making sure that they are being appropriately. You probably heard lots of a big in the media last week about the agencies that are out there providing food, trying to address holiday hunger, and the food packs that have been going out. We are providing food packs, even if you're not eligible for the grab bags of holiday hunger. We are doing packs in the Shasworth, if you're living in the Shasworth White Burke area, of big parcels, food parcels, for only £6 minimum sort of amount to pay towards it. So it's really important that whatever support, just give us a ring. Our number, I'm sure Kulsum can share, and our 292650. I'm sorry I haven't got a presentation today. There are lots of elements of support that we have got there. We also got like isolation sort of friendship initiative, that if anybody is shielding, hasn't got a lot of contact outside, we do give that weekly phone call to people to make sure that everything's okay, not just the bill, emotionally, that support mechanism is there for individuals. So we're doing gas, electricity, food, as well as emotional support if anybody wants those during this really difficult time. We never thought we'll be here this time last year. We didn't think this would be lasting us a whole year. I remember, I think, what date are we? I think the first case, I think, in England was like that this sort of time last year. We thought it would be all gone by summer and then winter, and now we're in 2021 and we're still in this situation. So if you do need that support, or you know somebody who needs that support, whether it's a friend or a family member who may not be able to reach out. And the most important thing is that we have got language support. So we've got somebody who speaks Bengali, somebody who speaks Gujarati, somebody who speaks Punjabi, and obviously there are the English speaking officers as well. So it's important that we have got that language support, that we don't have to go through interpreters. What we found is people, when we get interpreters in, they become quite reluctant because they think we're going to go, that person may go out, although that confidentiality is part of the clause, but people get embarrassed and they don't want to get interpreters in case it goes out back in the community. So we have got all that support in terms of language support from different staff that can provide that. Also want to make sure there's another agency that we can refer out to. They are giving out supermarket vouchers, and we can be given £20. Aldi, is it, Debbie? I think, is it Aldi's support? Yeah. So we can refer people that don't want food parcels, especially any communities out there that want want to go out and shop. It is an Aldi voucher that they can have £20 voucher that we can refer into another agency. It's not ourselves that does it, but we have got links with another agency, Youth Action, that are providing that service as well. So anybody who struggle with food parcels, but they can go out there and shop what they need. Obviously alcohol and cigarette isn't included in that voucher, but it's mainly for food and things that they think would be more suitable, that their kids or family are likely to eat. I think I'm over my 10 minutes. I don't want to take advantage of it.
It's important to know that if people are struggling, they can reach out to you both emotionally and for the services that are out there.
Yeah.
So if there's anybody out there that's just struggling with food, heating, and you mentioned debt, that can be very stressful and it can drive you into mental health. So that is really important.
It is so important, because whatever the most important thing is, we don't want people to turn off their heating, especially with all the children being home from school, unless obviously you're a key worker, the children are still going to school. And if you're working from home, because as Debbie said, public health do recognise with lack of heating, the hospitals are already inundated with COVID patients, and not having heating in the home, the risk of heart attack, the risk of stroke, the risk of other ailments like pneumonia and chest infections is even higher. So please, if you do need that support, it's not anything to be embarrassed about. It's not anything to be ashamed about. Most of us are going to be in some sort of situation where we need that support, but we're out there. And again, if you know any friends or family, please let them know, or just refer them with their permission, please, whatever you do. If you're going
just a phone call, isn't it, Dilwara?
It's just a phone call. There's not a huge form to fill in, just a phone call. But if you do refer friends or family, please make sure that you tell them that you've referred them. We don't want to startle them and go through all this data protection and issues of that. Oh, where did you get my number from? Thank you.
That's brilliant. And people can self-refer as well. They can just read you. That's good, because brilliant. Thank you, Dilwara. And anybody have any questions? Maybe we can take questions at the end as well, if people have some thoughts around anything that you've mentioned there. Thank you, Dilwara. We've got Carol Quinn on next.
Hello, let me see, I can share my screen. Can you see that?
No,
At the
No.
moment,
No, Carol, we can't.
You can or you can't.
no.
oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, I can't get it to share.
Oh no, it's doing it now.
Oh, that wasn't the presentation though.
All right.
You want some time, Carol? We can come back to you.
Yeah, the trouble is I can't. Even if you go on to the next person and I'm trying to share it, I won't be able to share it, will I?
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Are you okay talking through it? Is it in front of you?
Yeah, well, I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, how odd?
Yeah.
I've had this a couple of times. Most of my team meetings are on Microsoft Teams, and it's not a problem when I go onto Microsoft Teams. But yeah, I just can't. Just give me 2 minutes.
Carol, all I did is I clicked on the share screen at the bottom, then it brought another window up that had something in that just said share, and I clicked on it, and then it just took me to my computer, so I could just look.
Well, when I did share screen, I can't get where my presentation is. Oh, just hang on.
All right.
I think I'm getting there. At least mine definitely won't be over the 10 minutes, so you don't need to worry about that. Can't find it. I'm so sorry about this.
It's okay.
Nearly there. Can you see that? Can you see that now? No.
No,
No,
we just-
really though.
it
We
looks
just
like,
see the
yeah,
timer.
maybe if you can just talk us through it, Carol.
Yeah, will do. Okay. So basically, we've got numerous schemes to help people who are struggling financially, and especially if they've been impacted by COVID. We've got a scheme called Back on Track, which has been in situ for quite a few years. So I'll tell you the basics of the scheme, but then I'll tell you what we've done to change it in relation to COVID. So basically, anybody who's got water arrears on their account of £50 or more from last year, so prior to April, they can potentially go on a scheme if they are on a benefit. So the benefits are your usual income support, job seekers, employment support allowance, universal credit, pension credit, housing benefit or working tax credit, and child tax credit. Now there's 6 bandings, and so basically an advisor goes through an individual's income. So, you know, what benefits are they on? If it's universal credit, how is that made up with the housing benefit element, the child tax credit elements, etc. And basically it brings them out at one of the 6 bandings. Now, the lowest banding is £120. So if you've got somebody on benefit with, say, a £400 water bill and arrears, we will then reduce that bill by £280 so that their banding of 120 will be their current year's water bill. So that's the idea, being that that bill is in line with that customer's benefit. Now, because that doesn't always happen.
Carol, sorry, Carol, sorry to interrupt you. Can I share button and then we can get you on Spotlight so everybody can see you.
Okay, I was just looking at my own presentation, that's the problem.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. I know it off by heart, it's just to know which sort of slides I'm on. Is that okay now? You can see me, but you, yeah?
Yeah, we
Okay.
can see you now,
So
yeah.
due to COVID, what we've done is we've made some changes to Back on Track. So what we're saying is, whereas normally you would have to have arrears and you would have to be on benefit, what we're saying is if your circumstances have been financially impacted due to COVID, you can apply for this scheme if you're not on benefit and not on arrears. You've got to be earning no more than 21,000. So what we're trying to do is look at the low income families. But basically, it doesn't matter if you're not in arrears, doesn't matter if you're not actually on benefit. Now, it's the same application, so you go through a matrix with the advisor on the phone, agree to that they can check with DWP what you're saying is correct, which we do on an audit sort of capability. But the evidence we need would be something to show that you've had an impact due to COVID. So it might be a letter from your employee to say you've been furloughed, it might be a notification to say you've lost your job, but it's literally related to COVID. And therefore you can get on this scheme and potentially get a lower bill for the current year. Also, the charges are backdated to April, so you know if somebody contacts us now, we'll backdate those charges, so anything they've already paid when they sort of were able to pay will be taken into account. So it's a really key scheme to help people affected by COVID. And as Debbie said from Care Network, we're working with Blackburn and Darwen Council, so you know if you go to their help hub, they will actually address the water situation as well. So not only might you get on a reduced tariff, but you might get a contribution financially to help you with that payment. Next one is Help to Pay. So this is related to older people. So this is related to poor pensioners. So basically anybody that you deal with who lives on their own and who is on pension credit, they can apply for a cap charge, which is currently £255. So anybody that you know living on their own on pension credit or pension savings guarantee, if their bill is higher than that, that is something that they can apply for. If somebody doesn't live on their own, but they live with a partner who's also on pension credit or on state pension, their cap charge is £360. But it doesn't apply if you've got somebody on pension credit living with somebody who's on income support, universal credit, or in fact living with somebody who's working. So it's great to target the individuals, but obviously anybody that you know where there's a couple on state pension and pension credit combined, they would be able to apply for this scheme. Anybody who's on a meter will always read the meter, and any bill that's lower than the Help to Pay, they'll always pay the lowest bill, so people don't lose out either way, which I think is really key for them. Payment break. So this is something we've had in place for quite some time, but it's more significant now in relation to COVID. So basically, if somebody doesn't want to go on one of the schemes, they just literally want a break in the payments. They know that their place of work is hopefully going to be back in place by June, and they just want that break to support them. So normally I would be given examples of a breakdown in the boiler, a breakdown in a car, something of an expense that they've not catered for. In light of COVID, that would be your perfect sort of reason. Again, they can be on benefit or not, but it's limited to 21,000 per year. And the way it would work is if somebody's paying £20 per month and they say we'd like the next 3 months off, which means that they're going to owe £60, the advisor will discuss with them how they're then going to pay that £60 back. Do they need another year to spread that payment over, just to make sure that they're not going to get themselves in further debt? If somebody wants longer than the 3 months, they have to advise to pass up to a team manager, because again, we don't want somebody to get into debt by having a gap as long as 6 months that then might give them arrears that they're going to struggle with. So that's a really useful scheme for people. As I say, typically it was to do with like expenses that you've not catered for, but as I think has been mentioned by a couple of people already, you know, heating's going up. People probably are using more water due to drinking more tea and coffee. So, you know, anything that gives somebody that bit of a break, I think is really important. And then priority services I thought was a key one, especially with this being a carers forum. So, you know, anybody who has sort of extra needs and is vulnerable, United Utilities have a priority services team. Now, the guys on the team have actually asked to be on this team. So the idea being they're the right temperament of person to help. There's no time limit on the length of the phone calls that they deal with, so people aren't rushed off the call. We've divided it into 5 areas. So we've got physical impairment. So with this one, anybody that's got an impairment where they need extra help, so it could be the partially sighted, they want a large print bill, it could be they want a braille bill, could mean that they need to use our minicon system, could be they've got a disability that means if we're coming to read the meter, we need to do a knock and wait and give them that bit longer to get to the door. Also, if United Utilities was to disconnect the water due to a burst, if it was an emergency, we often announce this on the local radio, or we drive down the roads where it's affected with the tannoy. So if somebody's deaf and they've not let us know, we wouldn't be able to let them know through that means. If it's a planned interruption and it's going to be off for some considerable time, we would drop postcards through somebody's door. But again, if they're blind or partially sighted, that might not be the best way to deliver that news. Also, if it is going to be off for some time, we will provide bottled water to anybody who's registered due to a physical disability that means they cannot get to the shops to get that bottled water. It might just be somebody of age who hasn't got transport, but it will automatically be delivered to their door. The second area we've divided it into is mental health issues. So we have people who might ring us on more than one occasion and don't realise they've rung the day before. So you can nominate a relative to be added onto your account who can speak on your behalf. You can actually get a nominee who can get bills on your behalf. You'd still be expected to pay, but they'll go somewhere else to make sure that they are dealt with. Language and learning difficulties. So if English isn't your first language, you can actually have an interpreter that we can provide for you, but you can also go on our web and actually change the whole format to any language that you wish to read what it is that's on offer for United Utilities. And you can also, in terms of learning difficulties, if you've got dyslexia, for example, you can change the colour of the font, the size of the font, the size of the background, anything that help you enable you to read and understand what's there for you. The next area is financial difficulties. So I've been talking about financial difficulties anyway, but if you were to phone priority services because you wanted a large print bill, they would automatically check your account. And if they felt that you might need support, if they saw that there were arrears, or if they saw that you were an age where actually, are you on pension credit? Do you know we've got a reduced tariff for you? They will share that. And likewise, if you were to phone about an affordability issue and mention a vulnerability, they will also link in with the priority services to make sure that we cover both aspects. And the last one of our 5 is life events. Normally, I would give an example of somebody who's had an illness whereby they've either had to give up work or they've had to reduce their hours. It might be they're on 6 months out of work due to a stroke and actually they've now gone on half pay. So it's about share that with us, share it so that we can help, whether that be reducing your instalments for that period of time, whether that be giving you a payment break, something that we can support you with. When you join priority services, you get a card that enables you to, whenever you ring, always get through to that particular team. Also, there's a password scheme you can apply for. So anybody that's vulnerable who might allow somebody into their home who actually isn't kosher. So bogus callers use the water board as their alias very often. So if get them to agree a password. If they don't know the password when they visit, they're probably not genuine. And I've got my mum to sign up for that. Quite easy to do and doesn't cost anything, and it just is that extra protection for people. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention metering very, very briefly, because I'm not sure whether it's the best group of people to share it with, especially if you're spending a lot of time at home. But it's just for people, anybody that you meet who has a really large water bill, and especially if they live on their own, there's a calculator that people can fill in that's asked you on a weekly basis how many times you shower, do you have a dishwasher, a washing machine, how many people in the property, and it gives you an idea of whether you would save or not. But what we've introduced very recently is you've got a 24-month window anyway in which you could decide whether you prefer the meter. But what we've introduced recently is during that 24-month period, you will never ever pay more than you would have paid by rateable value. So we'll read the meter, we'll compare it to what your rateable value charges would have been, and if the meter is less, great. If it's more, you'll still pay the lower amount, and you'll be kept informed along that process of what your savings have been and that you have made. When I send all these slides to Dilwari or Coulson even, I will share the details around this, where you can go and do the calculator. You can see what water efficiency gadgets you can get for free, and all the affordability phone numbers are on there for support. But it's certainly something worth looking at, especially if your water bill is £400 or £500 and you're living on your own. You're going to be saving some potential water charges. And as Debbie said earlier on, please link in with the Blackburn and Darwen Council Help Hub if you have been affected by COVID, because not only might you get on a reduced tariff, you might get a contribution towards your water charges as well. And I'm so sorry I've failed. I'm blonde for a reason, clearly. But,
no, you haven't. It's very difficult on Zoom, and I've done it. You know, it's hard. I think all the information that you've given us is really, really useful, and I didn't know that there was so much help you could get with your water, and especially for vulnerable people as well. So it's another thing that people can access. So yeah, the Help Hub for anything around water, you know, grants, anything like that. Is that the place to go then, Carol, if they're struggling, or they come directly to you? So
I'll share the presentation with you. There's a struggling to pay form they can complete, and there's a phone number they can link in directly with us. The beauty of going via the Help Hub, if you are a family with children still at home, is that you might get a potential payment towards your water charges. If you're somebody who wants the priority services, definitely come direct to us. And if you're somebody who hasn't got a family at home but actually is affected by COVID, come direct to us. But anybody with families are more likely to get maybe that extra additional support.
Yeah, and there's probably more families eligible now in this current climate. Even if they felt before COVID that everything was fine for them, now it might be a different case. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And any questions, anybody, just put them in the chat and we can go to the end of the session. I'm going to quickly go to Nicola now, Nicola Henshaw, to talk about some of the financial kind of issues that can arise and how banks can help.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. I don't know if anybody else, but my screen is completely black. I've got me in the right-hand corner and not much else. Oh, wait a minute. Natalie's sharing a screen. Let's see if my screen changes. I'll just wait to make sure Natalie can share a screen. Yes, she can. Yes, we're all up and running. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been really interesting to hear all those tips and facts, and Natalie and I do get to speak to customers, so it's really worthwhile knowing that there is help out there. So thank you, Carol, for that. I found that really interesting. So today, myself and Natalie are going to be telling you a little bit more about fraud and scams and how you can keep your money safe. So my name's Nicola Henshaw, and I'm with my colleague Natalie White, and we're both community bankers at NatWest. Part of our role is to present talks to local community groups, usually in community halls and other locations, but due to the current coronavirus situation, the bank are looking to bring you the same great information, but just through this short Zoom session. We are able to run workshops on fraud and scams in much more detail via Zoom, and it's available to community groups, charities, or even to families, and you don't need to be a customer. So if anybody would like more information, you can speak to Coulson, who can provide my details. So we've all had to stop a lot of the things that we do daily, or do them differently, like going to work or taking a trip into town. One of the other common challenges that we're all facing is that criminals are also finding new ways to take advantage of this situation that we all find ourselves in. We are more likely now to fall victim to a fraud than to any other type of crime in the UK, which is quite a scary statement. The criminals don't care who they target, which really means that anybody can be affected by scams. And from March through till June last year, there was £14.9 million lost. and 53% of victims are over 55. And even more worrying is that only 5% of scams are reported. Now, it can only take a minute or two of distraction or a good deal or a link that we're clicking within an email, and it really can happen to anybody at any time. Myself and Natalie, we support customers, and what we're finding that those customers that have been victims of a scam, a lot of the time they say that it wasn't their first time being caught out, or that they've had a number of calls or emails beforehand. Spotting a scam is becoming increasingly difficult as the criminals are going to extra lengths to disguise what they're doing. And scams continue to be more convincing. Scammers use several ways to get hold of information from us. And a lot of the scams out there are based on simple grooming techniques designed to lead the victim into parting with information or money through things such as profile building. I think we've all seen those quizzes on social media where we're asked seemingly innocent questions like, what's your pet's name, or what's your favourite holiday destination? And what you're actually doing is you're giving away lots of personal information, or you might find that you're receiving telemarketing calls, again, seemingly innocent, asking you to complete a short survey. Well, all this information is gathered together to build a profile around you and is then used by the scammers to seem genuine. And you think to yourself, well, they already know so much information about me, they must be genuine. Well, your personal details are actually sold on to other scammers who will then target you with emails or phone calls. I'm sorry, that's my dog. I must apologise. The perils of working at home. Thank you, Ruben. Remember that your personal information is valuable. Keep it safe and don't freely give any of your information away, no matter how convincing they seem or how innocent that you may think by just confirming your date of birth. That information can be used by scammers. Now, any crisis is seen as an opportunity by scammers to target us, whether it's the collapse of a holiday company, an airline, or sadly, even during this coronavirus pandemic. And at times like this, many of us are at heightened anxiety and can therefore be more vulnerable and susceptible to scams. Two of the most common coronavirus scams include, you can see on the screen, the impersonation scams and the emails offering the health updates, the cures, or the ones that are requesting charity donations. And they appear to come from a trusted source with attachments that claim to offer perhaps safety advice, but opening this infects your device with malware. So the criminals are sending texts and emails saying that you're entitled to support payments or even tax rebates due to the coronavirus, or you're receiving a fine. And it can be quite scary for some people to be getting this. So it is a scam. The government, HMRC, or any other genuine organisation will never contact you or text you to discuss a fine or a payout. So don't click to respond. Thanks, Natalie.
Okay, so as people are at home a lot more these days, these scammers are using this to their advantage. So they may be telephoning us, impersonating to be a police officer or a bank fraud official. And we've even had it where people have impersonated a police officer so much so that they'll turn up at that person's doorstep dressed as a police officer. So if they do impersonate a police official, the story is often that they need your help to uncover fraud in your local branch, or that your accounts have been compromised by either the bank or the local staff. If you sound hesitant or that you're not buying their story, they'll say to you, don't worry, I'll prove who I am. If you just ring 999, you will be able to confirm that I am who I say I am. So what happens is the person will put down the phone, but the scammer will stay on the other end of the phone. So as the customer, the victim, picks up the phone and presses 999, it's actually the scammer on the end of the phone. So they'll pretend to be like a fake help desk, and they'll confirm that the person that you're speaking to is legitimate and it's all right. And then what will happen is they'll pass straight back to the scammer, who will validate the story. So in this scenario, they'll often ask people to move money to a safe account, And we often find that these safe accounts aren't even the same bank as what you may be banking with. And that they'll often tell you that they've opened that account for you, and it's in your name, and they'll provide you a cover story that if you do need to go into branch because it is a large amount, and they'll give you a cover story to tell staff, because don't forget they've told you that the staff are in on this. The staff are the ones that are abusing your money or under investigation. So they'll tell you to say something like you're giving it to a family member, or you're buying a car, or it's a deposit for a house. Another type of scam is the Amazon scam. I'm sure that everybody who's got a landline has been phoned saying that there's a payment to Amazon going out, press 1. And these are automated telephone calls, and they're often telling them that the Prime membership is being renewed.
Yes, yeah.
$9.99, and then you press 1 and you'll be connected to an account manager who's going to sort it all out for you once you've given them all your card details, which is obviously where they'll extort you into trying to get in your card details, your personal information. So hang up, and don't worry if you have pressed 1. Just don't give them any information, and tell your bank. So some top tips to protect yourself is that most cyber attacks could be prevented by taking some basic security steps. So choose a strong password. Try not to use the same password for multiple logins. I know that you need a password, don't you? So if you try not to use the same one, install a security software such as antivirus. Use a 2-factor authentication to verify purchases. Keep all your security software and operating systems update, and you can set that automatically, so you can update it automatically. So there is some numbers here on the screen. So report your concerns to the bank and action fraud, which the number is on there, 0300 123 2040. Speak to a trusted friend or family member. Sometimes just saying it out loud to somebody kind of puts it in a different perspective, makes you maybe realise, get somebody else's opinion on it. I'm going to show you a website that I came across that I think is brilliant. So often a lot of people have had emails, and my scam emails are usually like Russian brides, raspberry ketone, solar panels, I mean everything to Viagra, which I mean I don't personally need, but there's everything out there that come out to me. So and what I did find is that everywhere I went, somebody wanted an email. So doctor's surgery, if I wanted to take a dress back to Dorothy Perkins, they had to give them an email just to get my receipts. So everywhere needs an email. So what I was finding, the more I was giving it out, the more of these weird emails I was getting. So this is a website, and you can check whether or not your email has been used in a data breach. So I used my email because I flipped from laptop to iPad. I always forget which one I'm pressing. Okay, I'm just popping my email. Don't mind you having, because you will see why in a second. So I put my email into this website, and it comes up to tell me that I have been pwned. Be really careful the way you say that, but it's like owned, but with a P. So it says I've been pwned. So it means this on here that I have been, my email address has been in 6 data breaches. So data breaches are common. So NHS has had a data breach, British Airways has, Virgin Media has had a data breach. So there is lots of places that do get hacked, and the emails are out there. But what it is how you react to scam emails. So this one here just says that I have been part of a data breach. So it just gives me all different examples of where I might have been privy to a data breach, lots of different ones. So you can't actually do anything once you have been data breached. It's not like you can erase everybody. You can try and do unsubscribe, but the scammers just change the emails, or they'll try coming from a different email. So what I did was I created a new email, which I use for banking, I use for private things. And then this is the email that I'm happily, that I give it out to whoever needs it, but I'm more aware that this email has been data breached, that a lot of the things that I might get. So if I got an email from TV License saying I haven't paid it, to be more wary, because this is an email. So this website is www.haveibeen, and then it's owned but with a P, so pwned.com. And it's just a great one. Like I say, there's not a lot you can do after you find out you've been data breached, but it is it's useful to know that it, and just be aware, and anybody can do this. So just to let you aware.
Yeah.
Screen back, and there we go. So obviously what we do at the end of all of our presentations is we tell people to please share what you've learned today with your family, your friends, and your neighbours. So by sharing something of what you've learned today, you may be able to prevent somebody you care about to stop them becoming a victim of a scam. So that's just a shortened version of what me and Nicola do. We do a full presentation with lots of different information, like romance scams, investment scams, a lot more impersonation scams, but it's just a little bit about what we do.
Yeah.
Nick?
Yeah, that's it from us then. Thank you very much for listening. If you do have any questions, you know, feel free to ask or put them on the page. You know, we'd be happy to try and help anybody with anything that we can.
Thank you, Nicola. That's really, really useful. Thank you. Thanks for that. And we've got Luke Watson. I'll let all the ladies go on Luke first.
Thank you for that.
That's okay. So if you can share with us how you can help people.
Yeah, I'm just going to share screen. Give me a second. Can you see that?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. So, morning everybody. My name's Luke Watson, and I help both businesses cut their costs, predominantly across energy and merchant services, but also homeowners. It's really interesting, actually, listening to everybody about the fuel poverty, which I completely understand. I think there's approximately about 3 million people in the UK who are in fuel poverty at the moment. There's also about 10 million people on standard variable tariffs, which are the most expensive tariffs that suppliers can actually offer. And there's a whole host of reasons that homeowners are on standard variable tariffs, and the primary one is apathy. People have always paid the gas board or British Gas. They get 1,000 emails from their energy supplier, and they just get bored with them. And what happens is they roll over from a fixed rate, fixed term contract onto what's the standard variable contract, and they just keep paying, and they perhaps just don't renew. So what I'd like to ask is the big question is how much is 10 minutes of your time worth to you? Very simple question. How much is 10 minutes of your time worth to you? And what I'd like to do is show you within my 10-minute presentation how easy it is to actually generate some money for yourself and recoup some money. There's a lot of background noise, sorry.
Sorry, if anybody's got their microphone on, can you please turn it off?
I'm getting a lot of background noise, sorry, don't worry.
I said, just come back to you. I said, well, no, because I can't find it and share it when you're doing the next one, can I?
Right, so shall I mute everybody?
But there already, is it not?
Luke, you'll have to unmute yourself. I'm going to try muting everybody.
Thank you, much better, yeah, thank you. So basically what I'd like to do is just show you through my company bestenergyprices.co.uk how easy it is and how quickly it is to just get a quote and just get an idea of how much you could save So as I mentioned, it's bestenergyprices.co.uk. You can see what we do. We're an energy comparison site with a difference, and the difference is very simply to those of the likes of Money Supermarket, Confused.com, that not only can you cut your home energy bills, but we actually give to charity, in this instance Blackburn with Darwin Carers Service, for every switch that goes through our particular website. So if I just go to our charities page and actually select Blackburn with Darwin Carers Service, this is their dedicated page on our site. So bestenergyprices.co.uk, Blackburn with Darwin Carers Service, as you'll see. A little bit of information, as you all know who they are, obviously, but anybody who switches through this particular page, we will make a £5 donation per metre to Blackburn with Darwin Carers. So if you switch both your gas and electricity, and you save yourself some money, and obviously you're not going to switch if you don't save yourself some money. So if you save yourself some money, we will pay £10 as a donation to Blackburn with Darwin Carers Service. And I just want to show you how simple it is to get an idea of what you can save per year for your gas and electricity. So as you see, you've got your home page here, all the utility suppliers at the bottom. So we have the whole of market of the suppliers. I'm going to click on gas and electricity because we're going to look at a dual fuel switch, and I'm just going to select my own postcode in here. Obviously you put your postcode in there and then you just click on locate my home. It comes up with a bunch of addresses based on your road, your street, or wherever you live, and you just select your home. I'm over in sunny Preston, or dreary Preston at the moment, and very simple. I've got my address in there. You can put your email in there, which will then allow you to get your quote emailed to you, and all then you do is just click on create my personal projection. What it's now doing as a comparison site is basically saying, okay, well, thank you for coming to us. So what are you currently paying for your gas, and what are you paying for your electricity, and who is your current supplier? So as you can see, if I just scroll down, it says your current supplier arrangements. Are you supplied on a dual fuel tariff? That means basically, do you have one supplier that provides you with your gas and your electricity? So that's basically going to say yes. Who is your current supplier? I'm going to choose British Gas. And it was interesting what Debbie said earlier on about the multitude of tariffs that these bigger suppliers particularly have. So I'm going to select standard variable. However, you can just see how many different tariffs there are on there. I can't even count that many, but those are all the different tariffs that just British Gas offer. So what we're doing, we're going to actually filter out all of those and just choose standard variable because that's what we want to compare to. As I mentioned at the top, there's about 10 million people in the UK on standard variable tariffs. So I've chosen my supplier, I've chosen my tariff, and obviously if you've got your bill to hand, you can actually choose a select tariff that you're actually on. And then it's saying, okay, so what are you currently paying and how do you currently pay? You might pay monthly, you might pay quarterly, you might pay on receipt of bill, which basically means you pay a variable amount each month. So I'm going to choose monthly, which is the standard one. Do you pay a fixed tariff or a variable tariff, variable direct debit, sorry. I'm going to go fixed. And then the next question is, do you know how much you pay either per month or per year, or how much you use either per month or per year? If you've got a bill to hand, or if you know that it's £50 a month for electricity and £40 a month for gas, or whatever it might be, you can certainly choose those options. If you don't know, however, built into the comparison site are some Ofgem averages. So Ofgem being the energy regulator, you can actually say, I'm a low user, I'm a medium user, or I'm a high user. If you don't know, you don't worry about it, because what you can also do is choose the type of house you live in. So I'm going to say, well, all right, I'm going to choose a terraced house, maybe 3 to 4 bedrooms, and there's maybe 3 to 4 people living in the house. Obviously, you can choose whichever house is pertinent to yourself. And then I go down to, so that's my electricity, and I go down to the gas, and I'm just going to select the house type again, and it will default to basically say, okay, we're going to use the house type profile you selected in your electricity section. And that is it. So just to recap that page, if you do know exactly how much you pay or use, put those figures in, because that will give you an accurate idea, an accurate quote. If you don't know, you can obviously then go through and either use the Ofgem averages or your house type. Once you've got those figures, you go down to the bottom of the page and you click compare now, and that's it. So what it'll do now, it goes away and it pulls up all the details, and it'll basically say, right, out of all the suppliers across the UK, this is how much you can save. So it's either £118 in that particular instance, or just short of £100. What I recommend to people, and again, with reference to Debbie's remark earlier on, is some of these energy providers you may not know and you may not feel comfortable in switching to. You can choose, you see there's not huge amounts in between how much you can save, but the likes of E.ON or Scottish Power, who is obviously part of the big six, you may feel more comfortable in switching to, knowing that, for example, the £140 winter warm allowance is payable by the big six, whereas it may not be payable by Go2 Energy, for example. And you can scroll down all the way down, you've got all the suppliers on here, all the different tariffs, you know, even down to EDF, and you can still save 26 quid by moving to those guys. To switch, very simply, I'm not going to do it, but very simply, it's just a case of proceed online, you fill in a few details, you fill your bank details in for your direct debit, it takes literally 2 minutes, and that's it. So in this instance, in my 10-minute slot, I would have saved £118, 67 pence, had I been with British Gas and their standard variable tariff. And that's what I'd like to say to you guys. So, you know, it takes 10 minutes. That's it. Just go to bestenergyprices.co.uk, click on the Our Charities page, and then do select, please, Blackburn with Darwin Carer Service from the list of charities, because that way, if you do switch through that particular site, we will make that donation to Blackburn with Darwin Carer Service once your switch has gone through. So thank you very much. That's it.
So I had my microphone switched off then, and
Okay.
I'm speaking. Thank you very much. Thank you for everybody for attending. I don't know if Isma can put it back on gallery view. Can you remove spotlight and see everybody? Can we do that? Do that, Isma?
Isn't it?
Is it me, Frida? Yeah.
I've done it, Coulson.
Yeah. So everybody, we can see everyone now. So has anyone got any questions for any of the presentations, the organisations that kind of is the Help Hub, isn't it? The Help Hub. If you're struggling, you're not sure where to go, you're struggling with your food, you're struggling with your bills, debts. If you're struggling emotionally as well, then the central point is the Help Hub with the Council's Help Hub. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to Luke as well. That's going to be very useful to maybe people that don't fall into the vulnerable category and just want to do it themselves and switch over. Is there any feedback from anybody? Any thoughts? If you can put some feedback into the chat box, that will be really useful for us you know, for any events we do in the future, or for our reports as well. So, okay. So thank you all for attending. Rose, I did ask for a little case study, but I think we've covered so much that it's kind of like information overload at the moment. But the key message is there is a lot of supports out there for people, the grants, you know, just if you're struggling, just get in touch with somebody, whether it's the carer service, the Healthy Living, Care Network, just contact us, just reach out. So thank you everybody for attending, and hope
Thank you.
The next coffee morning, if we've got some carers here, we've got some carers here. on every coffee morning, we have a little quiz or just a competition or something just to brighten things up, but we've not had much time today to do it. I'll just throw one thing in. If everybody knows how to use the chat box, because I give away a voucher every coffee morning. So I've got a shopping voucher to give away, and I'm not going to do a quiz, but just a quick proverb. If you can put your answer in the chat box, whoever's the first one to put the answer in, and that's not for the organisations. Carers, you can't get a voucher. I'm sorry, but just for the carers, there's proverbs here. Okay. So birds of a feather. Finish the proverb. Birds of a feather. You can put it in. What does it end with? What do they do? Birds of a feather. It's a saying. What do they do? Okay. So we'll see who answered first. Isma will be able to tell me after when we finished, and we'll get a voucher out to you. So everybody, thanks for attending. And we will be having another coffee morning in about a month's time, and that will be all around well-being, your emotional well-being, and we've got the health and well-being service coming to that one. So thank you to all the organisations that came and spoke, and thanks for taking your time out. And we'll see you in probably a few weeks' time again, if not sooner.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Oh, hang on, before you go, can I just take a photograph? Because we need all of these sort of kind of, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.